Hello there, Chicuz!
Welcome to Chicuz Radio, where two cousins share their journey of self love, personal growth, and adulting in general. We are your hosts, Chelsea,
And Aika!
inviting you to join us in this week's episode.
Tara! Let's make Chica!
Yay! Yay! Kabisado ko na yung spell!
Hello! Welcome back to the show, everybody! We're mid-season.
Yes.
Episode 8! Woo! Mid-season na po! Finally!
Yes, we're finally committing on something. Yes.
Yes! Wow, we're so proud of ourselves. Grabe! Nagbuhat ng sariling
Pero true, it's not easy. Seeing our YouTube channel before I logged in a while ago. Parang sabi ko, hindi pa siya ganun ka-overwhelming kasi konti pa lang yung videos. Pero when I look back, grabe, that's 8 weeks of recording, 'di ba?
Oh my God! Oo nga! Oh my God! Wow!
So we really should be proud of ourselves. I'm proud of you guys.
Yay! I'm proud of you too. Hug, hug, hug. Wow, dito talaga sa podcast.
Yes. So what is something that you're grateful for this week, Kaz?
Something that I'm grateful for, I think, actually marami eh. So, pili na lang muna ako. For me, what I'm really grateful for this week is yung technology. Kung paano siya nag-evolve and how information is easily accessible. Sobrang lahat ng parang gusto mong matutunan, kayang-kaya mo nang matutunan. Google mo lang. So, yun. It's something that I'm really grateful for this week. Kasi I was like trying to, well, hindi pala trying, but I was looking for ways on how to make my life easier sa pag-edit ng podcast at sa pag-upload. And ang daming information sa YouTube from people who've been there na ginagawa na nila and parang they share their lessons and the mistakes. So, alam ko na yung kung ano yung dapat kong gawin and they have their suggestions then kung anong mga tools yung useful talaga. So, yes. So, that's for me. Sa'yo naman.
Before I share what's something that I'm grateful for this week, I just want to say that what you mentioned was actually really admirable na because that's growth mindset eh na you use technology to learn something. You use technology for your advancement, and it's something na a lot of people sometimes they have like negative misconceptions about technology na madami siyang negative effects, like yung mental health natin became unstable because of
Oh.
because of the internet, ganyan. And it's an overwhelming it's an overwhelming number of information out there, and but still you were able to use technology for for your advancement, for your learning. So yeah.
Wow, thank you. I think lagi naman there are always two sides sa isang coin and we just have to see which one we wanna look at or focus on. Yeah, let's not dive into the negative effects of technology because of course meron din naman talaga yon.
So something naman that I'm really grateful for this week was, well, over the weekend, I had a lot of bonding time with my family. So parang last week, 'di ba? I had time for myself. So I had to do that mid-year review for myself, to give time for myself. This week naman, I was able to give time for my family. We've been so busy with our lives, working on the renovation dun sa bahay namin, and like working on our personal stuff. this weekend, we were able to give time for one another. We were able to, yung kami lang apat. And alam mo yon, just to update each other what's happening. And then, yun, nakakatuwa kasi ang tagal na yung chill lang kami nagbabonding, ganon. Although, of course, the goal over the weekend was errands for the house renovation. Parang, syempre, on the side, like going to places, yung drive going to places, we were able to chit-chat, update each other on things, ganyan, and check up on each other, which is, I think, really important, especially during these times.
So, hindi ko alam kung ako lang 'to, pero there's something about the drive towards a certain place that I find, paano ba, parang very relaxing. Parang very chill lang kayo and then you can talk or you can not talk, but you're still very comfortable sa presence nung mga kasama mo sa car,
Yes.
'di ba? So, wala, nakaka-miss lang, grabe.
So, for this week's episode, we are going to talk about self-love. So, what is self-love for you guys?
My own definition of self-love. Wait lang, may kodigo ako. So,
Okay, go.
for me, self-love means knowing myself, accepting myself fully with all my strengths, idiosyncrasies, and flaws. It is showing up to the world and being unapologetically me. So, yun yung sa akin. Sa'yo naman.
Actually, I would just like to add to your definition kasi ang ganda na nung definition mo. So, siguro dadagdagan ko na lang para hindi naman masyado magulo. Just to add to what you said, self-love is also being able to own yourself, your decisions, and owning your life. As in, yun nga, sabi mo dun sa definition mo, all your strengths and weaknesses, all your past failures, all of your decisions in life, yun, everything that you did, everything that happened to your life, kaya mo na siyang i-own.
Gusto ko yung term na ginamit mo. That you own it. Na talagang, parang mas maganda siyang pakinggan sa Tagalog. Inangkin mo talaga. 'Di ba? Na parang, akin to. Akin tong lahat-lahat na to. And yung pag-angkin na yon, hindi siya yung forced, but it's in a loving way.
So, ikaw ba, Cos, nasan ka sa journey mo of self-love right now? And what was your journey? What was it like?
Wow. I have to admit,
Yeah.
it was long and it's still going. Hindi naman matatapos yung journey of self-love and self-growth hanggang sa deathbed natin. Meron yon. So, for me, how I started, yung talagang consciously na pinili ko na I made the decision that, okay, I will love myself more this year. Yung ganong decision. I think it started maybe 5 years ago lang. Ganyan. Naisip ko siya because of circumstances that happened which made me realize na, oh my God, bakit parang hindi ko yata mahal yung sarili ko? Because of the things that I did, which logically, like before, or kahit ngayon, pag iniisip ko, parang hindi ko siya gustong gawin. Inisip ko na, because I know na it won't be good for me. But then, I did it. So, yung mga ganong bagay, yun yung nagpa-realize sa akin na, baka yung idea ko ng self-love is really just an idea na hindi ko pala talaga mahal yung sarili ko. Kasi kung mahal ko yung sarili ko, hindi ako papasok or hindi ko gagawin yung mga desisyon na yon. I am going to choose the better path. So, ngayon, I'm proud to say na hindi na lang idea yung self-love. Talagang masasabi ko na mahal ko yung sarili ko. 100%. With all my flaws, with all my mistakes and lessons from the past, and lahat ng quirks na meron ako. And of course, I think medyo mahirap nga din tanggapin is kung ano yung strengths ko. Ang weird niya, 'di ba? Pero parang mas nahirapan akong tanggapin kung ano yon, kung ano yung maganda sa akin compared sa kung ano yung mali sa akin. And it started with that decision of waking up and choosing to love myself more that day and every day after that. Ayun, ikaw naman, how was your
Um,
journey?
yeah, I would just like to comment dun sa story mo. I think hindi naman sa generalize ko pero based on my own experience then a lot of Virgos that I know, they're really self-critical. And it's a struggle it's a struggle that you mentioned, and it's also a struggle of mine. Na actually, eto na, I'll share my journey. One of the, I think, turning points, hindi naman turning points, pero one of the events in my life na reminded me to love myself and actually taught me to love myself was during college. I joined this pageant in school. And then I was doing it for my resume, for my CV kasi I was about to graduate. Parang I'm in my third year, going to as in second semester, going to my fourth year na. So I was trying to build my resume that time. And then the support that I got from my blockmates, from my batchmates was something that was really unbelievable for me. I was just doing it for the sake of yun nga, to put something on my resume, to put a title or an event in my resume para lang madagdagan yung experiences ko in college. But their support was so overwhelming that I realized, wow, a lot of people believe in me and I don't even believe in myself. Parang kailan? Parang if they're able to believe in me, bakit ako, yung sarili ko, hindi ako naniniwala sa sarili ko?
So, hindi ko alam if it's a Virgo thing or we human beings are really wired to be very critical of ourselves. Sobrang dali para sa akin to believe and to encourage other people. Pero when it comes to myself, I really had, actually up until now, I really have to make that effort to tell myself that, hey, Aika, come on, you can do it. I believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of my personal practices then in showing myself self-love.
Hindi ko alam. Baka kasi may mga tao akong kilala na sobrang proud sila sa sarili nila.
Meron naman, I think
Oo,
meron naman
meron.
talaga.
Yeah. Pero, yeah, I guess hindi naman magiging sikat yung self-affirmations or like hindi magbe-bestseller ang self-help books kung hindi self-critical ang mga tao, right?
Yes, exactly.
I guess another event in my life that started my journey in loving myself was when I chose my career, when I chose the path of teaching and being a teacher. Since my parents weren't that much aware of the industry, nag-hands off sila in whatever I do relating to my career path, my chosen path. So I had to own every move, every decision that I made during that time. just to be able to start over and start in a career that I really wanted. Siguro I can say na I had no choice but to, but to love myself. Kasi who else would, di ba? So do you have any um, practices or lessons that you learned throughout your self-love journey, throughout your journey?
Okay. So before I share my personal practices on how I show myself self-love, I want to share lang that throughout my journey, I realized that self-love is not necessarily the same as self-care. They're similar, very, very similar sila. Pero for me, meron silang nuances na magkaiba. Self-love is nasa taas. And then self-care is just a part of self-love. Like self-care for me is more on like pampering yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Ganyan, magpunta ka sa spa, punta ka sa facial, yung mga ganon. Self-care is ano ba, your comfort food, that self-care, ganyan. It's still under the umbrella of self-love, pero self-love is mas mataas na level. It's
Mm-hmm.
bigger than that. So, yun yung isa sa mga insights ko, I guess, na natutunan throughout this journey.
Meron ako experience recently, I think just a few months ago, na I think something related to what you just said, na uh, self-care and self-love are different. For the past few years, parang every start of the year, I would tell myself na, okay, this is your year to start loving yourself. Or parang mas naging madalas lately na lagi ko na-remind yung sarili ko na you should love yourself, you should love yourself more, ganyan. But then, there were days na sometimes pag ayokong mag-work or parang nagpo-procrastinate ako on a task, ganyan. I'll allow myself to rest or like binge watch a series, basta do something else na hindi ko magagawa yung task. I would end up not doing the task at all. Or like last minute ko siya magagawa. But then I realized, kasi I had to push myself to finish that task because that's for work. At first, I gave in to allowing myself the pleasures in life. Kasi sabi ko self-love yon. But yun nga, when I realized, nung na-enlighten ako, when I realized, hindi self-love yung ginagawa ko. I realized na I was using self-love as an excuse. Kasi sabi ko, love ko yung sarili ko, hayaan kong matulog muna. Hayaan ko yung sarili ko matulog muna. I deserve this. I worked hard, ganyan-ganyan. Pero, I guess, dun talaga mag-a-apply yung, we just have to really balance things out and know when things are getting extreme or kulang na tayo on something, ganyan. And I realized that you're not really loving yourself if you're not also allowing yourself to grow. So, sometimes, or a lot of times, kung mahilig ka mag-procrastinate, you really have to push yourself. You really have to push yourself to grow. When you catch yourself na parang self-love pa ba to? You really have to ponder if the things that you do is actually self-love or baka ginagamit mo lang na excuse yung self-love. Kasi if you really love yourself, you would want what's best for yourself, diba? And for you to be the best version of yourself, you have to grow.
Ang ganda nun. And I think yung bottom line is that self-love is a belief, while self-care is a practice. Self-care is more on kapag hindi mo na talaga kaya. If you really need to take a break, ganyan. So, it's more of a practice. while self-love is that fundamental belief in yourself that you can be the best version of yourself and for the world. Wow!
Yes.
Saan ang galing yun? Anyway, going back sa Earth, ano naman ang mga personal practices mo?
Personal practice. Matatawa ka kasi medyo ang nerdy niya. It was a strategy I learned back in college. Yung
Do
ano,
share. Go.
yung SWOT analysis.
Okay. Wow, ang daming beses ko ginawa yan. SWOT
Kasi,
analysis.
kasi 'di ba sabi mo nga, we tend to be self-critical. Ang hirap for us to see our strengths.
Yes.
Or like, hindi natin instinct to know our strengths. So, something that you can do para makita mo yung strengths na yon and for you to realize your strengths is to physicalize them in a sense na you put them on paper. Di
Pero
ba?
tama yun.
Yeah,
Kasi kailangan nating nakikita.
mm-hmm, you make a report about yourself. Kung ako, di ba, teacher, gumagawa ako ng report for my students, dapat yung sarili ko rin ginagawa ko ng report. So for those of you who don't know SWOT analysis, so SWOT, SWOT, S stands for strengths, W for weaknesses, O for opportunities, and T for threats. So how can you do this SWOT analysis? So for example, so alam na natin yung strengths and weaknesses. So for example, sa strength, I put there planning and organizing and conceptualizing. For my weakness or something that I want to improve on is my public speaking skills and my communication skills. And then for the opportunities, or like you can put there your goals. So for example, I put there to start a podcast, to syempre to overcome that weakness. And then T, yung threats will be, I put there time. Kasi I need to allot time for me to be able to start a podcast. So with me seeing those four na naka-align, I'll be able to know how to work on improving my weakness for me to, yun nga, overcome that weakness. And because of that, I was able to figure out na, okay, I don't think I can do this on my own. So I'll reach out to someone para I'll be able to eliminate the threat, which is the time. I'll go.
From what I gathered. Hindi. Kung ano lang yung nakuha ko from what you said about SWOT in relation to self-love is when you do SWOT analysis sa sarili mo, you can see your strengths, you can also see your weaknesses, and you can see your goals, and you can see the challenges. So, dahil nakita mo na yon, you can process it more, and that process helps you love yourself more. Yun yung nakuha
Yes.
ko from that, kung paano na-relate ang SWOT analysis sa self-love.
Kasi when you're able to, know yourself, nakikita mo physically yung strengths mo, ganyan. Especially your strengths na, yun nga, sabi natin, mahirap siyang makita. Mahirap siyang ma-recognize. You'll be more forgiving with yourself, which is actually my next step, or something that I really practice is forgiving myself in everything or every decision that I make. Like if ever, yun nga, mali man yung maging decision ko, I'll choose to forgive myself kasi at least alam ko na I analyzed my situation properly. I was able to assess myself in the situation. So, logical pa rin yung naging decision ko. Yon. No matter what you do or no matter what happens, at the end of each day, don't forget to forgive yourself. I know it's hard. It's a journey nga eh, diba? Loving yourself is a journey. But if you think about it, madali tayo magpatawad sa ibang tao who actually hurt us. So why don't you, or why can't you do it for yourself as well? So, yun nga, forgive yourself. So there are reasons why you chose the things that you have right now. You may regret it someday, but know that what you chose at the moment was what you thought was the best at that moment or at that phase of your life. And that's okay. If ever you regret it, wala ka naman na magagawa eh. You just have to learn from it. I don't think a failure is a failure if you learn something from what happened.
Exactly.
When you try to forgive yourself, try to also understand or recall the purpose of your choices and embrace them. Parang it also entails trusting yourself. Nakatulong pala both my tips, yung SWOT, it will help you analyze yourself, your situation, or assess yourself. And then you'll be able to easily forgive yourself or at least try to forgive yourself when you understand yourself. Parang ang lungkot bigla. Sorry.
Naging serious kasi.
Oo.
Naging serious siya. So, ayun. Yun na lang ang nasabi. Okay, serious ulit, serious mood. So, in addition to what you said about forgiving yourself, one of my personal practices is to choose to be gentle with myself. Because nga, sometimes I am my own worst critic. So I have to be compassionate towards myself when I make mistakes instead of dwelling on the mistake and telling myself that I am that mistake, that I am a failure because I am not. And by saying that I am not, I am choosing to love myself a bit more. So, yes, I think it's really part of self love. Trusting ourselves, our decisions, and then choosing to forgive ourselves and being gentle with ourselves whenever we make mistakes or whenever we don't like. Kahit hindi naman siya mistake eh. Parang hindi lang natin gusto yung decision natin. Kahit na hindi naman talaga siya nakaapekto ng masama. Pero meron tayong feeling na parang hindi tama yung ginawa ko. So, being kinder to ourselves is actually a form of self-love. And aside from that, being able to say no to things or to people whose energy are negative. Like, alam mo yung sinasabi lang, energy vampires. Because some
Yes.
people really drains our energy. So we need to say no and put up boundaries because we need to protect our space.
Mhm.
By protecting our space, we are choosing ourselves more.
Yeah, I think meron ka nabanggit kanina na I also learned from a talk before. Actually, this is for other people eh. Pero whenever you try to understand other people, or at least yourself, try to imagine yourself as a little girl again who doesn't know everything, but is willing to try again. Or I think it's easier to forgive yourself if you see yourself as that, yun nga, your younger self.
Yung
Think of
inner
your,
child ba yan?
yes, inner child. And think of yourself as someone who, yun nga, doesn't know everything, but as long as you're willing to learn, from the mistake, then you're okay. Mabuting tao ka pa rin. Alam mo 'yon?
Mhm.
Parang just just learn to embrace that lifelong learning kasi hindi talaga siya natatapos. Yun nga, 'di ba? Wala tayong manual in life on how to
Wala
live
talaga.
our lives. Walang tama or mali. Ang mali lang is if you don't learn from your mistakes.
And actually, personally, I don't like saying that I did a mistake. Well, I practice not to say it, but instead, I look at the lesson and I tell myself that, okay, I learned this lesson rather than telling myself that I did this mistake. So, reframing para
I get
lang
that.
mas ma-encourage ako and
Mhm.
para kasi 'di ba, words really matter. So kung sinasabi ko pa ulit-ulit sa sarili ko yung negative words, yun na yung paniniwalaan ko. And mawawala na naman yung belief ng self-love. 'Di ba? Hindi nga siya
Mhm.
na-instill ng sobrang deep eh. So kailangan kong gumawa ng ways to make sure that my belief in myself remains intact. Kasi talaga, it's fragile.
Mhm.
Madali siyang ma-break, especially if maraming negativity around us. So, at least what I try to do is to preserve that light, kumbaga, within me na kung ano yung pinaniniwalaan kong totoo at tama sa akin, yun yung pinipili ko araw-araw.
It's
Yes.
ano it's also a practice of not victimizing yourself.
Yes,
Maganda.
that's true. Yes. Kasi nga, of course, meron talagang victims. Hindi naman natin sinasabi na don't associate yourself as a victim. Kung victim ka talaga, especially of abuse,
Mhm.
ibang usapan yon. What we're just trying to say is that kung wala naman talaga, kasi we have, well, at least ako, may pagka-ano ko eh, may pagka-dramatic. So, I try to romanticize things. So, kahit hindi naman talaga victim, 'di ba? I dwell on that victim mentality instead of the growth mentality na no, I'm more than that. I can be more than that. And that's what is helping me become a better person. And then there's one more personal practice, which is, I've mentioned na kanina, is self-care. Prioritizing me time for reflection, rest, and recreation. So, for example nga, is journaling, meditating, and coloring. I still have my coloring books and my colored pencils. And then dancing, singing, binge watching, reading, whatever that is good for myself at that period of time. I prioritize making that time for me. Yes, that's it. I think. Do you have your final thoughts before we wrap this episode up?
So if you're still on the beginning stage or if you're still about to start your journey on loving yourself, siguro ang masasabi ko lang is of don't think of self-love as a task or something that you need to achieve without thinking of your purpose first. Ano ba yung purpose mo? Why you want to love yourself? Kasi I think doon nagkakaiba yung mga tao eh. Yung point where we find the purpose of why it's important to love ourselves. So find that purpose first before starting your journey?
Ang ganda. Wala na akong i-a-add. Yun na yun. Yun na yung final words. Wala na pala akong final words. Hindi. I joke lang. So, I guess I just want to remind everybody or whoever is listening or watching this podcast that although sometimes it is hard for you to love yourself, try to find that little spark in you. Kasi laging meron. Sometimes, hindi lang talaga natin nakikita because of all the darkness outside. But it's always there. Alam ko parang ang weird niya na, hala, talaga bang meron? Eh, ganito nga yung nararamdaman ko. This is how I see myself. But really, there is that voice within you who is telling you that you are lovable. So you need to choose to love yourself. Because sabi nga ni Chelsea kanina, who else, 'di ba? It all starts within yourself. So choose to love yourself every day, each day, for the rest of your lives. That's it.
And that's a wrap. We hope this episode is helpful for you in any way. If you have questions, suggestions, and comments, feel free to tag us at Chicuz Radio in Instagram and Twitter.
Also, if you want to continue the conversation, head on to our Facebook group, Chicuz Radio. That's CHICUZ Radio. See you there and thank you for listening. We appreciate you and let's make Chica again soon. Paalam!
Bye!